Welcome back to my studio. This is Colleen with Designs of Value Art. And today we're going to be doing a bunch of grapes. Now these guys are yellow and the dark value is green, which I don't particularly care for personally. So I'm going to be doing mine in golden ochre as the dark value. I just think it's more attractive. It keeps them more warm and that type of thing. So I have gone ahead and I've put my masking fluid on there, and I did it with my pen. It is Masky Stift by Schmecky. I think I got it right on Amazon. So that's a good place to start looking for it if you're looking for one. And I've got shadows drawn in, so we're going to be good to go here. But the first thing I do want to do is I want to do a review. I'm going to widen my view here so you can see it a little bit better. There we go, that's better. And this is by Rosie Sanders. Roses, a Celebration in Botanical Art. And it's an absolutely stunning book. It's a big book, so it's hard to get the whole thing on camera here. Okay, now it doesn't teach you how to paint. Rosie Sanders is a phenomenal artist. She does roses that are kind of going to be dying soon. Decaying, I guess, would be the word to use. But take a look at some of her books, and I think I got these right on Amazon. She has an absolutely stunning style of painting, and these are all very large paintings. She puts them right on the wall and paints them, and they're just huge. So they're really, really pretty. You can get so many different ideas out of a book like this. If you're painting a rose and the stems are pretty plain and you'd rather to get some more detail, you can get some detail ideas from her stems, from her sepals, all of these, her leaves, a lot of different ideas that can come out of a book like this. And I'm going to just move this over so you can see the whole book, hopefully. There we go, that's better. And lots of different colors that you can study. Here she's got some whites, and then she's got the accents or shadows in the purple tones. She's got some green in there. But look at her stem on this one. Isn't that stunning? So there's a lot of different things that you can learn from her. Now she's got a couple other books that I'm going to be reviewing. There's some yellows, and she does have some green shadows in here, but she's also got the golden ochre, which is the ones that I like for like our grapes that we're going to be painting. So there's a lot of different ideas and values that you can garner from a book like this. So take a look at it, see if it's something that you would enjoy. She's got another one that I'll be reviewing that she did that's just called Flowers. This one happens to be all about roses. And then there's another one that she did apples, and it's about yay thick. So there's just a ton of apples that we can talk about. And she's really done some beautiful paintings. Look at these gorgeous roses. Absolutely stunning. Look at the purples and reds and yellows. But you can study these and see how she's getting her shadows. What is she doing to create those shadows? There's a lot that you can learn from a book like this. This woman is a phenomenal artist. So I would recommend this book wholeheartedly. I absolutely love it. I'm forever looking at it and studying it and deciding what do I want to glean from this book. Now this book isn't too very old as far as when it was printed. Let's take a look at that once and see. Yep, 2019, and it's by Batsford, so that's Canada. Not Canada, I'm sorry, United Kingdom. And just phenomenal work. Absolutely phenomenal. So take a look at that. I would definitely recommend that book. So, okay, first thing we're going to do is pick out colors. Since I'm changing it up, I'm going to give you the option, if you would like, to do the green in the darker values. And basically, what you want to do is mix yourself a gray scale. So we'll start there. I'm not going to use it, but I'll show you. I'm going to bring my palette over here. I got a whole bunch of water on here, which is a good thing. So I want you to be able to see my palette and how I'm mixing my colors. So I'm picking up lemon yellow, and that's going to be the first value that I put down. Got something in my paint there I don't want. There we go. All right, now what can we do to create a gray value that can go underneath those grapes? So the first thing I would recommend, and I've got some green on this, ultramarine blue, and these are my Holbein paints, just so that you're aware of that. Still using that same palette. Absolutely love these paints. And now, so I've got ultramarine blue, lemon yellow, and it's a gorgeous green. But I want to tone that down because I want this to be a shadow. I don't want a green undertone. Okay, so I went an awful high red. So we're going to add in some more blue. So if you go red, add blue. If it goes too dark blue or too dark green, that's when you want to add in a touch of the red. Okay. I'm just going to mix this all together. Seems to be a little green to me, but that is the undertone color. So we'll see what we've got here. This is where you're going to see what color you have. And I'm just going to get my picture out of there so we can compare it. And that'll be perfect. I mean, you could add some water to that and it'll lighten it up, but that will be a good gray for the shadows if you choose to go that route. And like I said, I'm going to do a golden ochre, different values of my golden ochre, and some lemon yellow. So I'm going to start out with the lemon yellow. And I'm going to add in the golden ochre. And this would be a much more, a much warmer shadow. And that's what I like. So I'd still like this to go a little darker than this, so I'm going to go to a darker yellow, which is the Holbein. Grab my sheet here. I'm not used to these names yet. Cadmium yellow pale, this one is, that I'm adding in. Yeah, I like that color better, but we're going to add in some more of this golden ochre. See how nice and warm that is? And then I'm going to bring some over here and I'm going to add in some more water. And that's going to give us the lighter value that we want for some of the shadows. So that's two of our shadow areas. Let's see what we got here. So we're going to start out with the light one because that's what I have on my brush. There we go. Let me go to the darker. I'm going to add in some more of that yellow ochre as I go, or golden ochre. All right, so these are some really, I actually need to add some more water to that lighter value one. Lighten that up just a bit more. There we go. So we got the dark shade and the light shade, and for, I should say, for shadows on the grapes themselves. And I'm going to have a much more golden grape, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. Now, those are our shadows on the grapes. Let's go ahead . I'm going to dry this because I want to see what I need to add to the top of this by glazing on it. It's going to take me just a second. And this is what you want to do too, is you want to see if I glaze lemon yellow on top of this, how is it going to look? Is it going to look like my resource or similar? Is it going to serve my purpose that I'm trying to accomplish? And it's just a real quick way of seeing if it's going to work for you. Still a little wet. Looking for my brush. Okay, now I'm going to take the lemon yellow and the next darkest yellow, which is going to be right here. Just a touch of water to that. And we're going to see if this will create what I'm hoping it will. So we've got our values on here. Now this is our darker value and our darker shadow color. Oh, that's lovely. There we go. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just try it over. Yeah, that's going to be really pretty on all of them. Now, my colors are not going to be exactly like the peach or like the reference material. However, if you want yours to be just like that, I would add just a touch of blue into this, and you'll create just a lemon green, which is pretty basically what that is. So, okay, put my palette back. Here we go. And we're going to start out with our background color, which is going to be our wet into wet technique. And we're going to put that third color that I created, the two yellows, as our overall design. But let's look at this reference material once, because I want you to be able to see how I think about this when I look at a grouping. And I don't care if this is a geranium, for example, that has a lot of petals, or roses that have a lot of petals, peonies that has a lot of petals. You want to decide where on your design you want your center of interest. As I look at this grouping, on this reference photo, I can take my reference and cut it into thirds. To me, this is the lightest, the largest, and the most forward grape on this reference material. So to me, this and this area back in here, because your center of interest is never just one item, it's always an area. It's not just one item. So we've got this grape, and we've got the accent over here, or I should say the reflected light over here, and we've got that center there that's a different texture, a different color. So it's got some bounce back and forth between the coloring values too. So that's going to be our center of interest. And then as we go out, this area will be our mid value in colors. This will be our brightest, our lightest, our darkest right here, back and forth. And then as we go out again in the next rim, this is going to be our darkest, and our darkest. So you always want to think about, where am I going to go with my lightest value? Where am I going to go with my darkest value? And since the light's coming from over here, this is where your shadow is. So when the light comes from the upper left, your shadow is going to be on the lower right when it's sitting on a table. And that's what this one is. So we're going to start that way. This will be our lightest value. Now these are fairly small areas to paint. Just going to take a look at my brushes and what I've got out here. That's a number 2. Number 4 I think is going to be, and I like the long round with the nice sharp edge. I always wake my brush up for the first time of using it that day and get it clean, get some water on it. And then I roll my brush into the paint to pick up as much as I can. And I make sure there's no drips on the ferrule, because I don't want it to drip onto my surface. And I'm going to do wet on wet. So I've got my brush that I use for my water. I've added my blending and glazing medium in my water. So it's already in there. Wake up that brush. Now again, we're going to do one grape at a time. Now with this design, as I put it on here and sketched it, I could have gone over these other 2 grapes, and I chose not to. But I'm going to correct that, because I think since this is going to be our center of interest, I'm going to go over the other 2 grapes, and that's easy enough to fix or to change, whatever you want to say. So I'm adding in my water with my blending and glazing medium. Making sure I get right up to the edge. And I'm going to go over the right-hand grape and this right-hand grape too. So I'm going to be good to go here. Okay, so I got my water down, and I'm going to lift it up. I can see before I even do that I had missed a spot. So this looks pretty good now that I corrected that one spot that was dry. That's why you want to lift it up into the light, and because you can tell what's dry and what's not. I always like to make sure it's nice and smooth. I don't have any puddles. All of that is going on. Okay, so I've got my first one glazed. I'm going to go right over that pen for masking. Does not matter. Oh, that's such a pretty color. I love this. And this is basically just making sure that color is on there. All the way to the edge. No puddles. I had a lot of moisture on my brush, so all I did was move it. I always have a baby cloth on my baby diaper on my lap, so it's nice and absorbent. And when I want to get rid of some of that moisture, all I do is tap it on that baby cloth and it picks it right up. And this happens to be 140-pound Arches watercolor paper, cold press. You can see the texture and the design of the paper. I like that. I'm used to that. I've got some that we will be doing on hot press, but to me it's just a little too slick. I know I've said before that every time I paint in oils, we always had what we call an eggshell finish. And it's a texture very similar to this cold press paper. So I'm very used to painting on this texture. I'm just going around making sure it goes right to the edge where I want the edge to be. Now, since these grapes are basically sitting on a table, which we really don't need to depict here at all because the shadow will create that look. There's not, on this one especially, there's not going to be a lot of shadow. But since it's sitting down and the light's coming from this direction, I'm going to add a shadow in over here. It's going to be our darker value. We still got one darker one that we can add in if we need to. This is going to be really lovely. I love that golden ochre color. And there's no crevices on this one because it's not behind anything, so I don't really need to put anything in the corners or anything to make it look like it's behind something, because it's not behind anything. It's the one coming forward. And of course this will be our highlight, so that'll be really pretty there. Now I don't want to go right next to that one because I don't want it to run into each other. Just going to straighten this edge out a little bit here. There we go. That's good. All right, so this is the one we just painted. We're going to have all the dark colors next to it there. I don't want to do this one or this one or this one or this one, so let's go ahead. We can do this one. It's kind of a mid-value grape. Okay. So I'm going to put my water down first. Now this one is underneath that grape, this grape, and this grape. So we're going to have some corners that we're going to want to darken on this grape. There is some really lovely grape resource material out there that you can find. If I got dust in there. Now Now, if you run into a situation like I am where it looks like there's dust on there and it doesn't want to come up, let it dry completely and you should be able to just, I would use a brush. I know a lot of people say just use your hands, but I don't like to get the oils from my hands onto my paper. Now we're going to do the same background as this one, but it's going to end up being a darker value grape because of there's going to be two values of the shadows. Making sure it's all covered. I start in the center, smooth it out, let it run out to the edge. Looks like I might have gone over here. Well, just a bit. Not too bad. All right. And don't forget with your values, the more values you can get into your designs, the more realistic they look. Otherwise, you've got a flat looking grape, and that you don't want. Okay, so I've cleaned out my brush. I've wiped out quite a bit of that moisture. I'm going to go ahead and add in our dark value over here first, just like we did over there. And then we'll take our darker value and go into those crevices. And then when a couple of these are done, as far as the grapes themselves, we could take a look and see if we need to add any more values in, because then we certainly could. All right, I'm going to make my darker shade a little darker yet. Just going to add in some more of that golden ochre. I'm using my good brush to do it, and I should not be doing that, but I should be using my mixing brush. That's better. This is going to be lovely. Touch of water so I can pick it up real well. All right. Still seems like it should be a tad darker. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we don't want to go right around that grape that's on top of it, because the shadows are not completely right around it. So we're going to start in the corners. See how much darker that is? That's really lovely. And what we're doing is allowing our eye, as we look at our design, to complete that circle. And that's when you get a realistic look to your paintings. If you outlined everything, it's just not going to be correct in your mind's eye as you look at it. It's not going to be realistic looking. Let's put it that way. That's probably a better way to say it. I'm just softening this into each other so that they don't just dry in a harsh line. And then I'm going just right around. Where each one of these are. did go over a little bit on this little guy here, so try and clean that up a little bit. Not too bad, but you're safer to clean it up now than you would be later. It's just easier, I should say, easier to get up while it's still moist. There we go. Okay. Just want it to blend in a little bit better. So I'm just basically barely touching the areas that I want to blend a little bit better. Okay, so let's look at these ones. I like the darkness in this shadow on the second one we did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some darkness to the center of interest because we want that to be the thing that's going to attract their attention as they look at it. So we can get some more darker value in here, which is good. We can do that even up on this edge if we wanted to. So I'm going to take my mid-value shadow color. And they're starting to combine here, so my palette, after I moved it, doesn't quite sit the way it should. So I'll fix that. Now I want this to be darker, but I don't want it to be as dark as the darkest. Just creating a little bit more paint here in the darkest. That's better. All right. So I'm going to pick up that mid-value shading color. And I think I'm going to do this as a glaze once this is completely dry, because I could put this in here now, and with it being still moist, it could spread and blossom. So I don't want to do that. So we're going to let that completely dry. Now, which one can we do next? It's not going to cause a problem. Let's do this one. It's our darkest grape. We're talking about this one. It's our darkest grape in the entire bunch. So we're going to start with that one. Put some water on it, of course. Doesn't need a ton of water because it's such a small area. I think it's just easier though, and much more lovely, to just let the water do the blending for us. It's just gorgeous when that happens. And if you're not getting your paint to move, you need to add a little more water to your base coat like this for your wet on wet technique. And if it's going too much, you've got too much water on there. So if it's blending out way too far, it's too much water, and if your paint is not moving, you don't have enough water. So that's kind of a good tip to figure out what's going on with your painting. Now we're going to base coat this the same. I'm going to just lift this up, make sure I got water on every area. There we go. So we're going to start off with our base coat color, which is just basically lemon yellow, and the color next to it on the palette. There we go. This is going good. Again, even though this is the darkest, we want to, you still want a highlight in there. It's a value. So you want to make sure that you have a highlight, a lighter value a mid value, a darker value, and then a very dark value. So you want to at least have, and I went over here, so we're just going to pick that up that way. Do the same thing down there. There we go. Yep, that looks good. I'm going to clean out my brush. And I'm going to go to the first dark. And I want to put this in. And this is fairly wide on this one because it is so dark. I want to make sure you can see me. It looks like you can. Make it a little bit higher for you or closer for you to see. Get my camera to work with me. That's better. There we go. So I'm making this a much wider, just make sure that you understand what I'm saying, not whiter, but wider area of dark value. And that's our lightest of the shadows. Now I'm going to go right into the darkest of the shadows. And right in the center, I'm going to drop that in. Because here again, this is our darkest grape. So we want a couple different values in there like that. And now I'm going to put in those corners. That helps separate it from the grape on top and to the side. So we're going to do that. And I'm just tapping it into the corners. And I got a feeling I'm going to add in some of that darkest too in those corners. The more values you can get into a little corner like this, the better. So it separates it and creates form all at the same time. So it's separating it from the top grape, but it's also making your eye believe that it's underneath. And that's what value does, is it creates form for you. And I'm going to add in some more dark value over here too, just because it's sitting down right there. Reinforcing the corners, making sure it's nice and dark. Again, you don't want to outline that because it does not create form that way. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dry these. And then when we come back, we'll go ahead and start doing some more of the grapes. So I'll see you then.